Good day, aka GK Fralin. Please call me Glenda. We have had rain here today, and it's been a little chilly. So we have no idea what season of the year we're in. That's Nebraska, but I'm finding out it's a lot of places on this earth. So, and in these here United States and in Canada. So, weird weather all over. So anyway, I did the thing yesterday, unrehearsed and unnoted, thinking it would not be hard for me to go through talking about my own disease. But it didn't do as well as I'd have liked. And then when I put it up, I did get a comment. They were not mean at all, just some constructive criticism. And so I am going to redo that now. And I'm going to try to stay much, much more tight on it. And that didn't sound good either. Much more. I'm going to stay tighter. I'm going to tighten it up. Wish I could do that to my gut. I'm sorry. I still got to make the puns. And I got to be funny. Try to. Okay. I am going to do my best not to sound mechanical or robotic, because that is not me. Okay, the progression of me as someone with COPD. I did start smoking at 15, and this is significant because of the long time use of cigarettes. And you don't start out with a lot. You start out with one or two, and you graduate. And I started on a dare, as a lot of young kids do, or as, to be as a part of a group or feel because of peer pressure. Anyway, moving on. I turned into a stress smoker. I'm a high stress person, or was. I'm on medication now. I'll explain that later. But as a high stress and high anxiety type of person, smoking seemed to be something seemed to burn off that energy. And as a nurse in a high stress situation, almost every nurse I knew smoked. Got to remember, I'm 61 years old. And I got my diagnosis in 2005. So it's been a significant number of years. I'm not in the same generation of those of you who have known of the dangers for as long as you have. Okay, moving on. I first noticed the symptoms when I was, early 50s, late 40s. I was getting more shortness of breath. However, at the time, I had been gaining weight because of a medication I was on. I was diagnosed in 96 as bipolar, and that's a whole different video. And I had to quit working, which meant more time at home, more time to smoke. I went back to school, and I did get another degree, but in 2005 it was interrupted. Excuse me. It was interrupted by a bleed. I was coughing up copious amounts of blood. And it was a scary day. I had not been feeling well no, wait a minute, that's getting beyond the point. Anyway, went up to see the ear, nose, and throat specialist because I thought I was maybe bleeding. Oh, excuse me. From my chest or my throat somewhere. Now, I would know better, you would have thought, but you just don't want it to be other places. But if it had been from the throat, More than likely, it would have been esophageal varices or something, and that's like an aneurysm almost. Anyway, turned out that I had a very large mass in my right lung, and they thought that this was cancerous. We all thought it was cancerous. I was scared to death. Not literally, I'm still here. Anyway, guys, I have to do that. It's not easy to do this stuff. So, anyway, I went through biopsies, and it was probably a 7 to 11 centimeter mass in my lung, but it turned out to start reducing in size on its own, so it was easily, because there had been a couple of benign biopsies, but the doctor wanted to make extra sure, wanted a guided biopsy, and he didn't do it because the mass was actually reducing in size. Turned out it was probably a lymph node, probably due to a severe sinus infection I'd had. Well, actually, it was an abscess from a tooth that completely filled the sinus. And so when he drilled into the tooth and started draining that, I know, gross. Anyway, but that, this is my theories that the respiratory route was where it went. Anyway. So we think that was the cause of the actual growth. But they had done chest x-rays, they had done CT scans. They had determined that even if I didn't have the lung cancer, thank goodness, I had significant COPD because I had emphysema, and I'd had a lot of bouts of bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis was not exactly a hard diagnosis. Maybe not the immediate one when we were first talking about symptoms, but I would get at least once or twice a year, I would get really what I would call a bad chest cold. But they'd put me on that. It was bronchitis. And I would occasionally get more wheezing, and I don't know. I consider probably that I do have some smoking-related asthma. On from there. So this is what happens with me. Everybody's case is different. If I'd had only emphysema, they would have treated the emphysema. If I'd had only bronchitis, I would not be diagnosed with COPD. You have to have at least two. Anyway, since then, I was still able to get around pretty good. In early 2006 was when they first put me on oxygen, because it had been getting, harder and harder for a year or so for me to do things. Slowly, it had been, I quit smoking in 2005 before the surgeries by weaning myself off, and that was not an easy process. I had to completely get out of the house, no cars, no smoking anywhere where it could trigger that desire. So anyway, I was no longer smoking. Some people with COPD do continue smoking even after they're on oxygen, and I'm too much of a nurse to do that. But anyway. So anyway, I was still able to walk around the block, I couldn't go real far, but I could walk around the block, and I could, walk downtown, which was a couple of, it was about the same as walking around the block, except it was straight instead of a circle or square. Circle takes the square, no, sorry. Anyway, it gradually got worse. However, in order to get, I'll bypass that. But I continued to get some bronchitis and pneumonia. You don't generally die from COPD itself. People live a long time with COPD. It's not comfortable and it's not ideal. And it's definitely not going to help your health at all. And eventually it might be a factor in what does kill you. Generally, what does kill you is pneumonia, congestive heart failure, something related that, or something else that your body just couldn't fight off because it is just worn out. So, anyway, like I said, I've had several bouts of bronchitis, and generally I would just go in. I mentioned I was I don't run fevers, people. I just don't. If I run a fever, I'm really sick. I used to as a kid. Maybe I broke my own internal thermostat. I don't know. I know I didn't, because that still works. It's just that I don't develop a fever quickly. Too many years of being a mom who couldn't afford to get sick, I don't know. That's a pun. Or not a pun, play on words. Anyway, farm kid joke. Mother's joke. Okay, I'm trying a little too hard here, so I'm going to slow down just a bit. Over time, okay, I did develop, in 2012, I developed a severe, very severe case of pneumonia and an ileus. An ileus is when a part of your intestine stops working. It's either blocked, twisted, or paralyzed for some reason. In my case, it got blocked. Or at least that's how we consider it. But it wasn't working, we'll put it that way. So I was bloated to here, and I had pneumonia. So what does your body fight? It doesn't know. It's fighting everything it can. One morning I wasn't feeling great. I did have a low-grade fever, which my husband kind of knew I didn't generally do. But I said, well, go ahead and go to work. You need to go to work. I know you worry about them. They have a very short crew there. So anyway, I said, just have Delson come over. My grandson was about 12 or something at the time. Maybe he'll correct me if he ever sees this. I don't know. Oh, Tiffany, if you're watching, you're about the same age, let me know. Anyway, he stayed home. I started coughing up copious amounts of blood, and I don't mean just a little. I managed to I was told to go to the hospital for a chest x-ray. Got the chest x-ray, had severe pneumonia. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks between the ileus and the pneumonia. Thought I was going to die. They thought it was a possibility I could die. I didn't, thank goodness. I did have another smaller scrape with pneumonia in 2014 or 15, I'm not sure, but anyway, I did. And I don't know what else to tell you because I'm losing my time. But I will say I love you. I care for you. And I will talk to you later. Any more questions about this condition, please put them in the comments.